Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dr. Music Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. My return visitors, my subscribers, always appreciated. Thank you. If you're not a subscriber, please consider hitting that button and so I can bring you great guests like Daniel Buckspan. This is just so exciting for me. Daniel, a writer and journalist for over 30 years. He has written for outlets like Fortune Magazine, CNBC, The New York Post, Guitar World Magazine, and many more. He is the author of almost a dozen books, including the Encyclopedia of Heavy Metal, which is my Bible and go to, the Encyclopedia of New Wave, Rush at 50. Ozzy at 75, a real gem there. Woodstock, 50 Years of Peace and Music. So all over the board, such great books. He also holds a bachelor's degree in music theory, which will shine through.
A lot of good it did me. Yes.
Today, we'll concentrate on a couple of Daniel's latest works, Iron Maiden at 50, and which is available now, and Rush 2112 50 Years, which hits shelves on March 10th, both from Quarto Books. Daniel, it's great to have you.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me. This is glorious.
Man, thank you so much. Thank
Yeah.
you. And I got to start the build on these things. When you get this thing, you spend so much time and your content is just so expansive. I get this thing in the mail and I know I'm holding it. It is, and I haven't take I take enough plastic off to get the book out,
Yeah.
and then I don't want to get fingerprints on it. It's just
Right.
it's a gem. I mean, it's just gorgeous. For you as a writer to get something like this and all that work that you put into the content and the text in here, to get something like that has to be the most rewarding thing in your entire career.
Quarto, I've done like a few books with them now, and all of them have completely exceeded my hopes and expectations for how they came out. They're a lot like me. They're kind of, in it for the love of the game too,
Right.
and it's important to them to get a good product out that you'll want to keep
Yeah.
and that you'll want to keep going back to. It means a lot to them, and I'm really lucky to work with people who kind of they feel about it the same way I do. I've likened it a lot working with them to like being on an indie label
Right.
where I mean publishing is not what it was like 20 years ago. And it's hard to make a living at it now. Uh 20
Yeah.
years ago maybe. Now it's a lot more challenging. And that's not just for the writers, that's for the publishers and it's
Right.
the bottom really fell out some
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
But
Much
I
like much like record labels, I would
Oh,
imagine.
oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole model is shifting, and it hasn't landed yet, and I don't know where that's going to be. But the manuscript I just finished yesterday about the big four, Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax, Megadeth, has a little. There's a section in it where I'm talking about the indie labels that really got all that started, like Metal Blade,
Right.
Combat, those guys.
Megaforce. Yeah.
Megaforce, yeah,
Yeah.
we must not forget
Yeah.
Megaforce, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And they interviewed. There was an interview with King Diamond, who I'm going to assume you know.
Absolutely.
Yes, good. The mighty King Diamond, and he was saying, like, being on. I can't remember. I think it was Metal Blade that he was on. I do not recall, but he was like, no, it was
Right.
great. I mean, there were some challenges, like kind of do it yourself
Sure.
a little
Not
punk rock, holding
let
things together with tape.
right. Let
Yeah,
something less than the major label.
yeah, but he was like, but the people were really in the trenches with him, and
Yeah.
really they loved the music, and
Yeah.
that's what it was about for them.
Yeah.
And Quarto, I would say, is exactly the same. Like they're in the trenches with me the whole time, and they're 100% committed to like a great product. And I am so lucky to be working with them and to have my work in those books. Because every time one comes out and people see them, they're like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. Wow." And it's like
Seriously.
that you must give them credit
Man, oh
because it
man.
would not come out that way without them.
Ah, that is great to hear.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because it's like that indie label as opposed to the major label. The major label has that conference room with all the suits sitting around it, and how we need a hit single.
Yeah.
Was kind of the Rush 2112 really
Yeah.
touches
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
They weren't given hit singles, but that board of suits wants a hit single. They need to sell stuff. So yeah, I would imagine that's the same here. They're not really fans. They don't really know who it is. They just want something out there that's going to sell and make money. Uh,
Yeah.
and
I
that's
mean, Quarto
that's
wants
rough.
to sell the book and make money too,
Of course,
but they
of course.
understand like there's a finite audience for this.
Hmm.
A lot of it is people like you and me,
Yep.
and they just have the formula down really well of like there's X number of people out there who will want this. It will cost us X number of dollars to
Yeah.
give them what they want. And they just really are like, this audience that's out there. What do they really want at this
Yeah.
point? And they've knocked it out of the park every time. And I have just, again, I keep going on about it, but I've just been so lucky to have them in my corner. And and for me, they don't really change my, when it goes into edit, they don't really change my work. I mean, there might be, I make too many Simpsons jokes in the text for them. Sometimes they're not totally crazy about it, but for the most part, it's like they let me say what I want to say.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Do you get parameters? Like, in the new book, in the Rush
Mhm.
2112 50 years book, it goes on with the interview that Neil did
Yeah,
um about the fascism
with
and
that
basically,
asshole. Yeah.
I mean,
Whoops.
it
Sorry.
was it was just Barry Miles from New Music Express. We gotta
Yeah.
call him out.
Yeah.
Um, back in '78, but it's basically called him a Nazi for because of the lyrical content on the album, and that's just. Can when you're putting this together, does the publisher say, hey, let's make sure we touch on this, or let's not go there? Was there anything that was off limits to you, or
No, they were the only note that I got from the editor, in addition to like, maybe this joke doesn't land or whatever, was there was one thing he did not want me. Oh, right. I was talking about the song The Necromancer on Caress of Steel.
Mhm.
And I do not care for the Return of the Prince, I think it's called, the third
Okay,
segment of it,
movement,
because it's
yeah,
like in the middle, you've got this like, oh my, it's Cream on steroids,
right,
jamming,
right,
it's like Wheels of Fire, and then it goes into what's basically Sweet Jane by the
okay,
Velvet Underground.
yeah, yeah,
And I referred to that when that happens as a boner killer.
okay,
They asked me to remove that.
okay,
Those are the kinds of parameters I get in terms though of like the content and what I want to talk about, and they it's completely hands off.
yeah, man, that's great,
And there's overlap with the previous book I did, Rush at 50, with some events, but it was really important to me to really not do the same thing twice.
yeah,
And I touched on that interview, and I talked about that whole thing in Rush at 50. But what I loved about this book was the way Rush at 50 was formatted. It's really like one thing with a limited amount of ink, and then you have to move on to the next thing. And so
yeah,
there were some things I didn't get to go into as much detail about as I wanted to.
yeah,
For 2112, it was, I just got to
yeah, that's
just
great,
go off, and that was glorious.
yeah,
And yeah,
yeah.
it was just really hard when I was writing that section not to call him an asshole in the text.
Right,
Yeah, it was
yep,
like maybe you don't say that. When I submitted it, I thought that section like maybe they might ask me to tone it down or
yeah, Yeah.
Maybe like legally there might be things you can't say or something like, but they were like, no,
Right.
this is cool.
Uh,
Go for it.
it's great. It's great. And I love Boner Killer, by the way.
I do too, but it's
But I get it, you know.
you know,
But that, you do that in the writing, and that's why I love how you write. There is that humor, there is that wordplay, and it's really a lot of fun. The read
thank you.
is fun, and this can get sterile, especially Rush because it is so very serious a lot of the time, and we are very serious about it, as fans. And I think we get a little too self-absorbed sometimes, and so to hear it, some fun injected into that, when you're talking about
Yeah.
something fascist and Nazi, to have a fun line in there, really, there's some levity to that, and it's really really a fun read and great information at the same time.
Everyone I've talked to who worked with Rush said the three of, and I've never met them. I should clarify that. I've get that right out there. But everyone I've interviewed who worked with them in any capacity said all three of them were hilarious. Like it was like working with the Three Stooges.
Absolutely, that's what I've heard also.
They have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I think, Neil, God rest his soul, did not like, I don't know. I think he didn't like being approached as a god.
Right.
I think he really didn't care for, you look at the lyrics to Limelight, and that lays it out pretty clearly. Just, that he
Yeah.
was obviously happy to be playing drums for a living. He's living his dream.
Right.
But yeah, yeah, I mean, even at my level of whatever whatever I wouldn't say celebrity or what, even at my level, I do sometimes get the occasional weirdo who's like, just you can tell there's more going on in their head than,
Right.
and I think he just was not into that one bit. And he was very serious about lyrics. He was very serious about percussion, all of it. But the celebrity part of it, the fame part of it,
Yeah.
and I think also like the music industry part of it, and all of that, he just no.
Yep.
I know the other guys didn't care for it either, but I think they were able to put on a little more like, okay, game face. We got to do this. We
Right.
got to make a video. It's just that's how it is.
Yeah.
He was less able to conceal his contempt,
Yeah.
I think.
Yep.
And
And
I get it. I totally understand, But
totally.
it all goes back to say that like the way that they're viewed by a lot of people, they're basically viewed in a lot of ways as the priests of the temples of Syrinx.
Right.
And we must supplicate before them, and they never wanted that. They never wanted any part of that.
Yep.
They just wanted to make, this groovy music that we all love. That's 100% of it. But I mean, my wife is a teacher. She teaches 3-year-olds,
Okay.
which I would last 10 seconds in that job.
Herding cats right there.
Yeah, but her problem with the job is always administration. It's the
Right.
adults. The
Yep.
adults are the problem.
Right.
It's not the 3-year-olds. And I think for Rush and really for any, Iron Maiden, any musician that's really like stayed out there and been really has really persevered, all of them will say like, the thing about it that is the hardest for them is dealing with the business and the industry
Yep.
and just and having to do things that they don't believe in because
Right.
the label says they have to.
Right.
Uh, and it's so I mean, again, to get back to it, they have a sense of humor. And
Yeah.
in my mind, if I imagine them reading my books, I believe the things I said would give them a chuckle.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all. That's
Absolutely.
all I ask, just a
Yeah.
chuckle. That's all.
Yeah. And they do have a sense of humor, and I've heard
Yeah.
that as well, with people that I've communicated with that knew them or had toured with them. And I think 2112, um, doing their own thing, really gave them license.
Yeah.
It is the quote, killed the idea that Rush had to be more commercial. Uh, the success of 2112. Um, but I'm reading that and I'm thinking how true that is. But I'm thinking if 2112 would have failed, uh, where would we be now? Would they have succumbed to the writing the hit song, changing the band, or would that band have disappeared? What do you think? If 2112 doesn't make it, well, where would we be with Rush?
Well, I mean, when they were making it, they were like this, this might be it. This might be the last hurrah,
Right.
this one might just, and then there's sort of a fiction that Caressive Steel was like a disaster, that
Yep.
it was just the worst thing, and really it was just it didn't sell that great. That's all.
Yep.
A lot of it for reasons actually having to do with the label, but like they just changed unilaterally stepped in and changed the album cover, which was not supposed to look like that.
Right.
And they've all been like, I don't know what they were thinking. It's hideously ugly. And I could see, people looking through the racks, like, it matters what it looks like,
Totally.
if you think of, the cover of any Iron Maiden album, for example,
Hmm.
they know like, okay, we have to, if
Yep.
we want this to jump out of the record racks to people, we need to give people something to look at. And the great Hugh Syme, who did
Yes.
their record covers and was gracious enough to let me interview him twice.
Fantastic.
He was like, yeah, no, we submitted this thing that was steel, as in caressive steel,
Right.
and they just completely changed it into this other thing that had nothing to do with what we wanted.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it took a hit commercially, that's part of it. But also they were a new band, and it takes time to
Yeah.
catch on and all that sort of thing. So, and I think, worst case scenario, I think 2112 just would have like not sold as well. Like it would have been the same thing with Caressive Steel, where it was just like it didn't do
Yeah.
great. I don't know necessarily that they would have been dropped because of that.
Yeah.
But I could see if that had happened, like another label picking them up, or because it's
Yeah.
back then the labels were really about building careers and nurturing bands and giving them time to get more, like Yes, uh,
Right.
that took them several albums
Yep.
just to break out, and that was just the way it was for a while, and that was accepted
Yeah.
in the music industry. Like we have to put some time into this. We have to invest in this band.
Yeah.
And I was actually very happy to get this from Donna Halper, who is, widely credited with discovering the band
Yep.
and also worked at Mercury for a little while. I was really happy to talk to her because she said a lot of things that really sort of deflated the whole myth of Mercury just being like, if this isn't a number one album, if there's no Beth on this
Right.
album,
Right.
you'll never work in this town again. It wasn't like that. They wanted Rush to be successful. They wanted the album to sell, and they would have loved it if there had been a single.
Right.
And there has to be a single was a thing that was handed down from on high. But
Sure.
she was very clear that like Cliff Bernstein, who manages Metallica, was working
Yeah.
at the label at the time. And he loved them and he totally got it. And she was very clear that it was like, no, there were people at the label who really believed in the band, really thought they were onto something, and did whatever they could to try to help. I mean, the music business is the music business, and it sucks. It's like the adult film business. They just treat
Yeah.
everyone horribly.
Right. Right.
But I think a little too much has been made of that in the past 50 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
That they were under the fascist boot of commercialism to make
Right.
this
Right.
record, and it's like, no, the label wanted the record to sell because they're a business and they're in business to sell records.
Hmm.
But I mean, it's a little bit of a myth
Yeah.
that they were just like, persona non grata unless they got, a hit album.
Right. Right.
I'm not, after I talked to Donna, I was like not even 100% sure Mercury would have dropped them
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
2112 had just been like,
Yeah, that's great to hear. Because the talent was recognized,
yeah.
not just the success and the hit single. There are people there that actually got it.
Oh,
Imagine
totally.
that.
Yeah. There are a
Yeah,
lot of, she reeled off a few names, and I
great.
thought it was really important that they be recognized for what they did.
Yeah, yeah,
You may have noticed as you were reading off my bibliography, the number 50
yep,
appears frequently in all of them. And I mean, what's good about that is after a lot of time has passed, these myths develop.
yeah. And
Uh,
you learn how they developed
yeah,
and how true they were, or the facts behind them.
most of them are a lot more complicated than whatever the myth is. The truth is always more complicated than the myth. But,
Right.
in 50 years, a myth will accumulate.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just really interesting to go back and I mean, really, I got this from my Woodstock book.
Uh,
Famously, there's, the thing about Abby Hoffman rushed the stage when the Who were playing, and Pete Townsend pushed him off stage, and that's it. He lost all the respect of the Yippie community. And the
right.
reality was, Abby Hoffman got there before the festival even started and was working medical tents the whole time.
Uh,
And I thought it was really important that it was like, no, there's so much more to his involvement than just getting pushed off stage.
right. Right. Right.
And he did a lot of good
Yeah.
behind the scenes, and that should be recognized. I'm
Absolutely.
very much about that in all of my
Yeah.
books, that it's like, who have we been missing the whole time?
And that's the detail. That is the fun thing. I learned, and I'm a student of the game, kind of.
Yeah,
Especially like with a band like Rush and Iron Maiden. On the back of this battle jacket is an Iron Maiden back patch.
I
I
see
mean,
my
you
book
know,
behind you, in
yeah,
fact.
and I mean,
Yeah,
huge, huge, huge Maiden fan.
yeah,
Um, but I read your books. There's so much content, and there's so many things that you can learn, even when you know it all.
yeah,
You might know it all, you think, but no. There's so many things here. Richie Blackmore played the maiden debut for Martin Birch
yeah.
and suggested that he produced them.
He was right. Yeah,
And but before the book, I wasn't aware of that. So these books, the content, the research that you do, the bringing out of these things is, again, makes it fun, makes it informational, and it's like, wow, look what I found. It's that hidden gem. We get that all the time with these books. You mentioned Hugh Syme.
yeah,
Uh, that I remember putting on the 2112 record, and the first thing that hits you is Overture, and you got that synth, that
yeah,
whoosh. It's the first thing you hear, and I'm thinking, this is Getty.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that's
yeah,
Hugh Syme, who was also a musician as well
yeah,
as one of the great illustrators of our time. Um, but that's him playing a synth, right?
yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of that technology also at the time was brand new, and a lot of what you're hearing on that record is them being like, "What does this do?" Oh, what about that? Um, but yeah, no, I mean I learned that uh, when I interviewed him, and
Yeah.
anything I learn as I'm doing these books, where like it hits me like, "Huh, I didn't know that."
Right.
Automatically goes in. Anything where it's like, well, wow, okay, I that completely busts everything I thought,
Yep.
automatically included.
That's so
Uh,
cool.
well, I mean, again, these guys have been around forever. There are millions of
Right.
books about everything I've written about. They were there already.
Yeah.
So for me, the challenge just becomes, okay, why should anyone buy my book? What's the reason? I mean, Iron Maiden at 50 came out when Iron Maiden had their own retrospective 50th anniversary book that came out
Right.
also. So really, to me, it's like, you'd better put in there better be like good reasons for people to pick up your book because they'll go to Infinite Dreams all the time because that's them, that's the official account.
Right.
Why would they, what reason would they have to go to mine, you know? But I mean, I feel like if I'm giving, some kind of originality, something.
Iron Maiden isn't referencing The Simpsons. That's
No, they're
that's
not. Yeah.
that's why we come to you
Yeah.
for
They
sure.
also never talked about that Raging Bull should have won the Oscar and not The Departed. I said one thing in there that, I thought Blaze Bayley was the Timothy Dalton of Iron Maiden singers.
See, and that's great. I love getting that.
But I mean, that's the thing is I put it in there and I was like, nobody will get this joke. However, it pleases me to put it in there, and
Yeah,
maybe a couple of people will get it.
and I started as a writer, and I would write things, and I was always like some things that are just kind of you had to be there things, kind of like that. You might not know, not every reader is going to know who Timothy Dalton is.
Right. Yeah.
Um, so I was always hesitant, but then I always came past it because it was like you said, I was pleased with putting it in there. I got it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, dumb down my readership
Right. Yeah.
because there are people out there that are going to get it, and they're going to
Oh,
appreciate it.
oh, I've had people who just straight up don't like my work. They just are like, this guy is just like he's opinionated and who cares what he thinks of Hold Your Fire and why must he make these jokes? It's just like I don't know. That's
Yep,
sorry.
yep.
That's how it
Not going to
goes.
please everybody.
No,
That's for
and I
sure.
mean, I really, Rush at 50 was really the one that got like the most pushback of that. Like Iron Maiden,
Of
that all
course.
the fans are cool with it. I haven't heard any problems with that at all.
Yeah.
But the Rush audience though is more
Oh yeah.
emotionally attached to these guys.
Oh yeah.
You're saying that like you may have had some experience on the receiving end
Yeah.
of
Well,
some
yeah. I mean,
dissatisfied Rush fan,
I'm part of a lot of Facebook Rush groups, things like that, and they are the closest thing to the Messiah for sure.
Totally. Yeah.
And it's serious business.
Yeah.
And I was talking with Rod Morgenstein, great drummer,
Yeah.
winger, and the Dixie Dregs.
Dixie Dregs, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And he was with Steve Morse band, of course, toured with Rush.
Yeah.
So and I asked him, if that was a gig that you had been offered, would you had stepped into that? And he's like, well, who wouldn't step into that? And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know that I would. You're stepping straight into the fire, my friend. And Annika Niles, completely, dedicated and worthy drummer. Boy, that's a rough one.
Oh, well,
That's
I thought it was really smart of them to like pick an unknown. Like
yes,
maybe she's not an unknown, but
yeah, yeah,
not Mike Portnoy.
right, right,
And that's nothing against Mike Portnoy, who in fact recently said he was kind of relieved that that they didn't pick him for
yeah,
all the reasons we're talking about.
yeah.
But I mean, all you have to, my God, if you watch her play for 2 seconds, it's like, oh, well, okay, yeah, she'll be
She
fine.
she can do this. Yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
but I think if they had gotten someone who was like more of a big name, the whole discussion would be different, and
yeah,
there would be a lot of like I don't know, it would bring too much baggage, I
yeah,
think,
yeah. I think
and
so too.
because she's not as well known, it really just keeps the focus on these two guys getting back together and coming out, which is really what the focus should be.
Yes. Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah, but I mean, if they had picked, they're friends with, Dave Grohl and Chad Smith, all
Right.
these people, and I just think if they had picked any of them, it just would have been a problem.
Yeah.
And I think they're very careful and sensitive to how people are going to react to them. That it's not to say that if they thought something might rub the fans a little wrong, well, a little bit of the wrong way, but they believed in it. I think they would do it.
Yeah.
And certainly they would not have picked Annika if she couldn't play. I mean,
Right.
and I have seen some stuff out there on the internet where it's just what is being said is so ignorant,
Yeah.
and just so like it's like people wanting to go out of their way to prove the worst stereotypes about Rush fans,
Right.
the kind of
Right.
things they're saying, and it's
Right.
just like, do you have to?
Right.
Do you have to do that?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I must say though, having said all of that, where the Rush fans are coming from, even the ones who don't like my work, they just love the band.
Yeah.
They love the music. It means
Yep.
everything to them.
Yep.
And that's really where it's all coming from. And I respect that.
Yeah.
It's not about like the scene. It's really not about anything but like, oh my, that fill in at the 3.5 minute mark on Red Barchetta is amazing.
Right.
I can't fault that at all. That's
No.
clearly they love clearly they love the music, and
Yeah.
as long as that's there,
Yep.
the rest of it is not so important to me. And I compare them a lot of the time to the Grateful Dead. Not musically, obviously, but
Right. Right.
they have these people who are willing to just drop out of society
Yes.
and follow them and and hear them do feedback encores for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't get it
incredible.
at all, but
It,
they're invested, and
yes.
it's hard to fault them
Yep.
for anything that they're doing as just people who just love this music, just love this band. And it's that's completely innocent. That's completely unblemished by anything. And
Yeah.
I don't think I think for Rush fans, I think they feel lucky to even have this music at all.
Yeah.
And I know from talking to people over the years and everything, the music just means so much to them.
Yeah.
And they'll say things like, this album helped me get through my divorce. This album helped me they helped me when I was having a mental health crisis
Mhm.
in my 20s, and their music really helped me as I was getting through it.
Yeah.
I'll always have that attachment, and they will always be something I can just write about with my whole heart,
See, that's
And there's not a lot of bands that have that effect, like maybe a handful.
yeah.
So if the fans occasionally get a little weird or whatever, it's for a good cause, and
Yep.
I'll accept that. That's
Uh,
fine.
yeah, and I really admire it. It gets strange. It really does.
Yeah, but
But there's
as
a
long as long as they
oh,
don't dox anyone,
right.
then we're good. It's fine.
There is a passion and I mean like a burning passion for the band. And how can you not love that? I mean that's we have that mutual love for the band and it's really it's
Yeah.
great to see.
I
Yeah.
must I must also say that the level of hostility and hatred that has been directed towards the band and its fans for many years by critics and people who I think I would just call assholes, um, is like, wow, what's wrong with you people that you're like, this guy's just sitting there innocently listening to Free Will, and you have to come up to him and be like, "Oh my God, those lyrics are stupid. Getty Lee can't sing. What's wrong with you?" And it's just
Right.
like, if anything, though, I think that contributes to why the fans love them so much.
Yeah.
Because it's like someone talking about your baby and being
Yeah.
like, "Your baby is ugly."
Right.
That will
Well,
make you love your baby more.
yes.
So,
Very much so. That's a great analogy. Yeah, and I got that. That was very much like that for me because I love Getty's voice.
me too.
I just love when he digs in and he goes high and just everything about it is just so. I can't listen. I always say that the 2112 song and all the movements is the greatest song that I have ever heard. It is my favorite song ever. And I mean all of it. It has to be all of it. It can't end at Temples of Syrinx.
Yeah.
I love the rain and the soft, tender voice that he does,
Yeah.
and the passion of talking to the priests, and the priests talking back, and he's totally devoted with his voice. So, hearing that he's screechy, or how can you listen to it? It's so awful. They should have gotten a singer, things like that. I'm like, what?
I
Makes me
mean,
love it even
someone
more.
someone I interviewed for the book was saying like it wouldn't be Rush without him. It wouldn't be Rush without that voice. And,
Yeah.
maybe if I don't know if they got like I don't know Tom Jones or or, I don't know or Barry White or I don't know
Right.
whoever. It just probably would it might not have worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their Rush is a very specific thing with a very specific sound that is totally unique, and I've never heard anyone copy them successfully ever.
Yeah.
And part of that is Geddy's voice. And you can't take that out any more than you can take Neil's drumming out or the lyrics,
Yep.
or poor underrated Alex Lifeson's guitar solos. The
Wow.
poor man is just never mentioned enough.
It's crazy.
It's a crime. I mean,
It,
that's a hate crime as far as
it
I'm concerned.
it's insane.
Yeah, because he's amazing. I mean, if you
Huh.
just sit there and listen, and it's like this guy is brilliant.
But
But
just
for whatever reason, he just doesn't get the kudos he should get.
yeah, well, I mean, he is partnered with, the guys who are pretty amazing. It's hard to not be overshadowed, but you got to think about it. It's a three-piece band. He doesn't
Right,
have a rhythm player.
right.
If he's not playing, it's an empty thing, kind of. So he's handling like a rhythm part and a lead at the same time, and
And atmosphere also because he does
yeah.
he does a lot of like stuff I think is kind of influenced by Steve Hackett from
Yeah.
Genesis,
Yeah.
where it's about like a lot of it is about mood,
Yep.
and a lot of it is about like creating something emotional that plays against the rhythm. Like
Yeah.
it's really thought out, and it's really, what can I as a lone guitarist in a three piece, what is going to give this song the most bang for its buck? What is going to
Right.
cover, you know, what is going to give it the most color and mood? And, he's thinking about the entire thing.
Yeah.
And I think, if he is underrated, I think a lot of it has to do with, the fact that he wasn't copying Eddie Van Halen.
Right. Right.
And as you and I know from that story time in the past, if you picked up an issue of, a guitar player for the practicing musician and you didn't play like Eddie Van Halen, you weren't in it.
Right.
It didn't matter who you were.
Right.
Uh, but that's just, again, that's the business and that's the industry. And I
Yeah.
mean, now, decades later, certainly no one is going to say, like, I don't know, Alex Lifeson, he kind of sucked. I don't, yeah, yeah, no one is going to say that.
Right.
He has established himself.
Yeah.
But,
Well,
it's kind of unfortunate that, that there are people who are like, Neil Peart is the greatest drummer ever. Geddy Lee is the best bassist ever. That's all.
right. Right.
It's
Right.
I feel bad for the guy, but I
Yeah.
imagine he must have learned how to deal with it a long time ago.
Yeah, and I think he plays for himself. He knows
Yeah,
he knows he's doing what he should be doing, and
yeah.
he's very confident with it. And you
He's
know,
the reason I listened to Rush in the first place. The thing that
yeah,
hooked me,
yeah,
the
see
thing
that?
that got me was the
It's
solo in
great.
Free Will.
That is awesome.
He
That is
just, he
awesome.
goes into that one section that's like crazy fast.
Yeah.
And like right up to that point, I was like a little bit on the, I will say Getty's voice was a little bit of a barrier for me at first.
Yeah, yeah.
Once that happened, it was like, okay, I'm in,
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I never came out. So, you know,
How cool is that, man?
yeah,
And I love the information too in the book on Terry Brown.
yes,
I knew he was a big component, but maybe not that big.
yeah,
And he was a huge component. He was like a fourth member,
yeah,
like an Epstein for the Beatles and things like that.
yeah.
Just a real huge part of it. And I love what you said about, and this is, going back to your opinions and things like that that will piss people off. Uh, Voivod's Angel Rat,
Yes.
1,000 times better than Metallica in '91, and what, 1 billion times better than Nirvana's Nevermind.
Yes, it was the
Uh,
greatest album of 1991. I will die on that hill. I do not care what anyone says. All of them are wrong. That was the best goddamn album of that year, and I was so happy when I interviewed him, and I shut off the recording at that point. And I asked him like, so what happened there? What was the deal with that record? And he was willing to talk about it for a bit.
it's great.
He agreed. He loved that record, and he was like, very sad that it wasn't accepted. But I mean, it just the time when it came out, and like it was so different from their previous record, and
Yeah,
it was just some bands can change,
yeah,
and the fans will accept it. Rush is the number one example of that, I think.
right.
But I felt like they really kind of got screwed on that one.
Yeah,
I listen to it almost daily to this day.
that
I
is
cannot
awesome.
recommend it highly enough. And anyone who listens to it and does not like it is stupid, in my opinion.
See, I love that, and you're gonna die on that hill, and
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
there's not gonna be many people with you.
I died on the Blaze Bayley Hill
Yeah,
too. That's because
right.
I like those records, and I am really it pisses me off to this day, 30 years later, that you still see comments where like, oh, he sucks. We want Bruce. It's
Yeah,
Steve Harris has been like, no, the whole time. He's been like, no, those were great records. Blaze is a great singer, and he got us through a really hard time.
yeah,
Because, I mean, I'm sure you remember how, metal in the late 90s was embraced, which was that was some redheaded stepchild shit
yeah.
right there.
It sure was. Yeah,
But, he was willing to get up there every night and be equal to the task. And
which is a tough one.
Yeah, and then and since then he's just been so humble about it and so grateful to like that he had the opportunity. Like you will never hear him say a bad word about those guys.
Yep,
Even when he talks about when they fired him, he's like, no, they did the right thing. They did it properly, and I understand why they had to do it. It's
so
class
cool.
act
Yep.
all the way. I would also like to say all of his solo records since he left have been slamming, every
Yeah,
single one.
yeah,
It's amazing, in fact, how good they are consistently.
yeah.
But he's another guy. It's like he is deserving of more respect.
Yeah, it's funny
He
when I
get
went to England, he has a fan base there.
Yeah,
It is pretty
a big
large.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And here, like you say, he gets the shaft. We just don't buy into it, and I'm not really sure why. I love
Uh,
it.
people don't like changes to the familiar. And if
Yes,
they're used to things being a certain way, it's tough. Replacing a singer is I think the toughest sell
yeah, yeah,
for any band that like a band can change a bass player and a lot of people won't even notice.
right,
They'll notice when you change the singer. All of
yes,
them will notice. And
yep,
every like just thinking back to like the Ozzy versus Dio wars
right,
and all that, like that's the thing people get like really contentious about.
yeah,
You don't hear people who are like, "Oh, Tommy Bolin sucked, Richie Blackmore,"
right, right, right,
because it's not this. It's just not at that level. The singer, everyone, that's their focal point, and that's who they identify with.
yeah,
Uh, and it's a tough sell. I mean, even Dio, when he replaced Ozzy,
yeah,
he said people were really resistant to him for a while, and to
yeah.
me, it's like there's no greater sign that a person is a moron than if they don't immediately love Dio the second he starts singing. If you
Right.
don't, you need medical attention. Something is
Yes,
wrong with you. Call 911. You
I
don't like
agree.
Dio, call 911. The ambulance and the guys with the butterfly nets need to come for you.
Right, right.
But because he was not what they were used to, it was just
That's
a
it.
hard sell.
Yeah, Kiss always, I'm always reminded of that, and there's those Kiss fans who, if it's not Ace and Peter with Paul and Gene, it's
Yeah,
not Kiss. And I'm thinking, I grew up with that, and I
yeah.
love those guys, and I love that music. But I'm thinking the guys they got after are like a million times better musicians. Eric
Can I
Singer,
say something that's going to get you a lot of negative social media engagement?
please do.
My favorite Kiss album is Music from the Elder,
There you go.
like
That
by
is the
far. Like it's not even close. And I mean, I didn't even listen to it until I was like 35 or something, because everyone's like,
right.
it's terrible, it's the worst thing. I never listened to it.
Yeah.
But in a way, like that doesn't really serve the people who are saying it's a bad album because they say it so much that when you finally put it on, you're expecting like
Right, right.
your brains are going to start leaking out of your ears or like something terrible will happen to you. And you sit there and you're like, what's the problem? I
Yeah.
don't get, so they're doing themselves a bit of a disservice.
Yeah.
I love that record, and I know that they were thinking before it came out, obviously, like, and we'll do a sequel, and there will be a movie, and
Right.
I would love Music from the Elder box set with all the like promotional stuff they didn't use, all the
Yeah.
stuff that they had prepped and ready to go
Yep.
for, because it was going to be hugely successful, and all, and here's the movie. I want to see all of that. Do you know the Jerry Lewis movie, The Day the Clown Cried, which has never been
Uh,
released?
no.
There is no movie
Oh.
I want to see more than The Day the Clown Cried
Yeah. Well, see,
because,
yeah, that's who I am. I want the B-side that,
yeah,
is stuck in the vault,
100%. Oh my, the fact that like a
yeah.
lot of these legacy bands have started releasing like sessions.
Yeah. Ah, that's so awesome.
I
Yeah.
love that. I
Yep.
love that.
Yeah.
But I get that most people don't.
Right.
And are just like, why do I have to hear the same song over and over again? And it's
Right.
like, no, on the fifth take, he bends the guitar a little differently.
Right. Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I think you and I may be cut from the same cloth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
I love that. And the more like obscure, just anything where I'm like, what? Yeah, but what's behind it? What's back there? What's in that closet?
Yep.
That's
Yeah. I want to hear all that stuff.
that gets me every time.
Yep,
So,
me too. And like the new Megadeth album, they have the digital has an extra track and the
uh-huh.
Target version has a different track that you can't get anywhere else. I think I've bought the thing like 6 times now.
Oh, really?
Because I need all the tracks.
Yeah,
I need the different covers that, are limited or, whatever. I'm that guy.
yeah.
Totally devote myself to every last note. I want it all. So yeah,
You're a
pretty.
Megadeth like fanboy, like
Yeah. I mean, I love the band. And I love the fact that they haven't. The Metallica fan will tell you that they sold out numerous times. Love the band myself.
over and over again.
Right. And
Every record. Yeah.
you know,
It's Ride the Lightning. I remember people who are like, they sold out, Ride the Lightning. This
yes,
sucks. What
yes.
happened?
And I love just about every song that they've ever put out. I love the band. But Megadeth is known for never selling out. They've maybe Euthanasia, To Lamone kind of thing, but they've always stayed a thrash band and a pretty heavy non-commercial thing for the most part, and I think fans gravitate towards that. For me, I just want good music.
Yeah.
If they want to do a folk record and it's great when they get done, I'm all on board. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
The
uh
thing I really want to hear, just getting back to Rush, is their one of their sound engineers on one of their tours told me that when they would sound check, they would just come out one by one and just start improvising and jamming with each other for like 20 minutes. And
wow.
they were just doing it like just to get the levels right and everything. And he described it as like, weird time signature, like King Crimson 1973, way out there, dissonant. And I'm like, I want a box set.
Right. Oh, just
Release all of them. I want
subject.
all of that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, can
Absolutely.
you, and I mean,
Ah,
Getty said recently that maybe, who knows, they might make another record after the tour if,
AIDS.
you know. I'm thinking because everyone's going to be like, you know, who's going to do the lyrics? What's going to happen there? It's like improvise,
Uh,
just jams, just release jams.
yeah.
Annika is certainly up to it, you know,
Uh,
and just go crazy, just off the leash.
yeah.
I would love to see that because they've been on the leash their whole career.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to see what they can do off the leash.
Yeah. Well, let's I don't want to take up your whole day. I so
You could take
appreciate
up my whole day
this.
with all of this, and it would be no
I,
problem
I
whatsoever.
love it, man. This
Yeah,
is so much fun.
yeah.
Um, you put out a post yesterday, maybe the day before, telling us about,
Yesterday.
yeah, the
Yeah.
subject of the new book.
Oh yeah.
How long does it take you when you're from start to finish? Like you get it from the publisher, or get the idea to do a book and you start. How long is it until you actually holding it in your hand?
Not long. Like usually it's about a year.
Okay.
Like there, I had a meeting with this publisher at the beginning of 2025
Okay.
about let's do 2112 and this next book that we are discussing. Those will both be titles that come out in 2026. So,
Nice.
so we were talking about that in January of 2025.
Okay.
And you know, just that's actually not a very long time for a
No,
book.
no.
You know, the Winds of
Especially,
Winter, for example, you know, has been going for what, 15 years or something like that. You know, in my head, I really just have this feeling of like, just get it done, just get it done. Because in a lot of ways, I don't want the editor sitting there going like, you know, where is it? Is this going to turn into the Winds of Winter? But I have to have like kind of a hard deadline that is not way in the future, or I procrastinate.
yeah, of
So
course. We
it
all
needs
do.
to be like pressure. We need this now. But a
Yeah,
lot of that I have to credit my days in journalism
right.
because it would be like a plane just crashed in Germany. Call the German Aviation Authority and ask them what their process is for yada yada. We need it in half an hour. And
Right.
it's like, okay, you know, when Neil Peart died, it was the same thing. It was just, we need something
Right.
right now. And I was crying as I was writing it,
Yeah.
but there was just something about like, chop chop, let's go,
Yeah.
that I respond to. If I don't, and I have more time, I have a tendency to become perfectionist and tinker with it too much. And it's like, no, you have to just
Yeah. Spill it out, get it out
don't
there.
sweat it. Yeah, and usually what happens too is as I'm writing it, I'm thinking this is the worst book ever written by anybody. I am a total fraud. I have no business doing this. Then I read it back and it's like, oh, it's fine. You know, so there's a lot of like worry and extra stress and all that's just like
I would
when I
imagine.
just focus and do it, there's no problem.
Yeah, I would
But
imagine.
as soon as it's like take as long as you want,
It's yeah, yeah,
problem.
yeah.
Yeah,
Don't tell me that.
I can't
Yeah.
do that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I will tell you, every book that I've read from you, is I feel like I'm walking the streets with you.
thank you,
It's really, really great. You're hanging out with me while I read, and
thank you.
that's really, really cool.
That's you know in a lot of ways it's like that's just kind of how it's supposed to be. Is like we're just
Yeah.
like weren't these guys great? Wasn't
Yeah.
this great? Remember that thing? You know, it's
Yeah.
not, but it's not necessarily like nostalgia either.
Well, no, yeah, and
Uh,
like it's informational and we're sharing
yeah,
things kind of thing, and we're just enjoying the band. We're
yeah. Also,
enjoying the love of the band.
yeah, but I mean, also in real life, when you're talking with someone about a band, they might say to you, "Well, that record sucks."
Right, right, right.
So it belongs in the book because that's part of the
Yeah,
whole thing, you know.
absolutely. Yeah.
You know, it's but I'm sorry, you asked about the thing I just finished yesterday.
Yeah. Big
Uh,
four, right?
Big Four,
It's
Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer, Megadeth. I've been saying that like one word now for quite some time.
uh,
Uh, and it's about like it basically covers 1981 to 1991 and how they were really kind of intertwined
yeah.
the whole time and really had sort of a shared history. A lot of what they shared in that history was bad. But in a way, it's sort of like they were still there for each other anyway, and we're still in each other's lives.
Yeah.
And as much as I hate to use the F word, they were like family,
Yeah.
mostly because they fought all the time and had these terrible
Yeah.
problems with each other. And that, well, not all of them.
Well, yeah.
I'll say the following. It really kind of comes down to one specific figure in one of these bands who could be a bit of a problem. That's all I'll say. But you know exactly who I'm
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah,
And
I think I know.
yeah. But I mean, still, it's there. I mean, there were a lot of things in his memoir that I didn't know, and
Yeah.
it was he really went through a lot of shit.
Yep. And
Getting fired from Metallica the way he did, and
yeah,
getting sent on the bus, all that is like that's trauma. That is pure trauma.
and I was gonna say,
And
yeah, I saw the movie for the new album. It's basically a listening party, but it's an interview with him, Dave Mustaine, of course.
yeah,
Y-
that's
yeah,
everyone knows who we're talking.
everyone knows
Yeah.
that. But boy, what a change. He's really, I think he's really reached adulthood. He
Yeah.
is finally adulting,
He had
which
he had to get sober. I mean, that's
it's,
the
yeah,
that's the I mean, I smoke pot every day, so I'm not going
yeah,
to sit here and be like, how but I mean, he really was in rough shape,
yeah, oh
like
yeah,
really rough shape.
yeah,
Uh, and just I have known people with like those kinds of much, for me, it's nothing higher than weed. I've never really liked anything. Like I don't
right,
even really drink. But I've known people who had real problems, with alcohol, with heroin, like all of that. And to me, it was like they can't mature.
yeah,
Their brains will not allow them to mature until they stop doing that stuff
yep,
because they're doing damage to it.
yeah,
And I can't remember. They just revised upward the age at which your brain stops developing. It used to be 26. Now it's 32.
yeah,
So, yeah,
wow,
so even someone who's completely lucid their whole life is not really adulting until they hit their 30s.
yeah,
If you're drunk and a cokehead and all, you will not get there until you stop.
yep,
And yeah, no, I really came away from it with a lot more respect for him. And, I
that's
mean,
great.
also certainly his playing, like,
Oh,
holy shit. I mean, you can't, what the hell are you
it's
going to say about that?
just crazy, yeah,
But he ended up being, I think, the most sort of like complex person in the whole book, and I was really glad to have the opportunity to sort of deepen what I thought about them and what I thought about him.
yeah,
Because prior to doing it, my impression of him was a lot more one-dimensional,
right,
and I feel like now I sort of understand it better. I understand him better. I understand his music better.
yeah,
Um,
and
But but yeah, he
he,
was a challenging person to be around. It
oh
was
yeah,
like so,
oh yeah,
but he admits that, and he
oh
says
yeah.
so.
Yep, yep, and that's what I love. But with the big four, I think he was a central figure for
Oh,
all
totally.
of the bands. It was really he had an impact on each of those bands in some strange way. Which is really it ties them all together.
Oh, not just because he got kicked out of Metallica. Kerry
No.
King from Slayer was in Megadeth briefly for
Yeah.
like 5 shows at the beginning.
Wow.
It's just all, and like, Megadeth, Anthrax, God knows how many times they've shared a stage. God knows how many times
Right.
they've shared a stage with Slayer,
Yep.
who to this day, by the way, Slayer, I cannot say enough about what a masterpiece Rain and Blood is. And I
Yeah.
still listen to it to this day, even
Yeah.
though I'm approaching 60. And every time I hear it, I'm like, ah.
Yeah.
it never wears off.
No,
And that
it's
is not the record that I thought would age well.
yeah,
It's perfect. It's
it
perfect. Yeah.
it's something. It really is, it's a masterpiece in that
Yeah.
genre. It's the blueprint, you know.
It's kind I mean, one thing I said in the book was, when the record is over after the first time you've heard it, for me, the feeling was just like, I don't know where you go from here. I'm just
Right.
not sure, but I mean, the soon after all these bands came out that were faster and heavier and so but for me it was like I think they go about as fast as my brain can process
Right.
and I can like barely keep up.
Yeah.
And I watch a lot of YouTube reaction channels because I mean for me
Right.
it helps me sort of like relive the first time I heard this stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
And every time I see someone reacting to Rain and Blood, they're just like, what just happened?
Right. Right.
What, wait a minute, and
A bomb just went
that
off.
record is 40 years old this year,
Yeah.
which is
Crazy.
insane.
It
I
is.
mean, all those records are now,
Yeah.
Among the Living is 87, but Master of Puppets, Peace
Yeah.
Sells, and Rain and Blood, that's in 1 year. That's in the space of like 6 months. That's
Just
insane,
it is insane. It
Yeah.
really is. Wow. Can't wait to read that one
I
for
am
sure.
excited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. And we're gonna get it in 2026.
November. Yeah, it's this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just
I
awesome.
feel like I shouldn't even be talking about it when my 2112 book has not come out yet.
Right.
And I'm still supposed to be promoting Iron Maiden at 50.
Yeah, yeah.
But
When
I'm always, what's next?
yeah, and it's great. Yeah, people need to get out there. The Rush fan for sure. 2112 at 50. Like I say, this build here, you can run this over with your car and it's
Yeah.
not gonna crack.
Oh yeah,
It's
if you
just
drop it off a building, like it could kill someone. Yeah.
seriously,
Yeah.
when this comes in the mail, you're gonna know it. Your mailman's gonna be tired.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And the content, you could have this wonderful package, but if the content isn't there, it's just a wonderful piece of cardboard. So
Well,
that's the
with
content.
great photos though.
Oh, and
You do
and
get the photos. Yeah.
I'm a concert photographer, so I have a
Oh, okay.
deep, deep appreciation for that. And they're everything. The paper. I used to be in the printing industry. The way it's cut, the way it's printed, the register on those photos, the paper is
Yeah.
just heavy, heavy stock. It's just a beautiful thing to hold in your hands, and then it's a beautiful thing to read. So it is. They're real gems, these books,
As
and
long as you remember, and this is very important, and I'm saying this to all your listeners too, read all of my books on the toilet. That's, yeah, for some reason, you'll be the most receptive to my words in that state.
there you go.
Yeah. That's where all the best reading happens. We all know
of
that.
of course,
That's not a secret.
of course.
Yeah. Read all my toilet books.
I love it, man. Daniel, this has been a blast, man.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, let's do it again when in November, maybe
Okay.
when the book comes out.
Was
We'll
there anything else you wanted to ask before I run away,
oh, geez,
or was it just this was a lovely discussion and that's good?
I have all kinds of, things that struck me in the book. I could talk about, Burning Ambition and Reach Out and Can I Play with Madness from Maiden. Uh,
What were your thoughts about Burning Ambition?
uh, well, Maiden is like, Sabbath is maybe the top, and that, I have that holy trinity of metal.
Is
Ma
what Sabbath,
Maiden and
Maiden?
probably Priest.
Okay.
I love Priest for, in the metal kind of thing, the traditional
Yeah.
heavy metal thing.
We owe a lot to those guys.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot. Yeah.
But
Maiden owes a
Maiden,
lot to those guys.
yeah,
Yeah.
seriously. And the Maiden thing is just I love every note. That's the stuff that people don't like, those Blaze stuff, but even like, the new record, a lot of people did not like it. I like it. It's not one of the better ones for me, but I like it. I like the B-sides. I like
Mhm.
Burning Ambition. I
Yeah,
like Reach Out, which might be the lightest pop song that they've ever done.
yeah.
I don't listen to it on the regular, uh, but it's one of those things. I don't know that there could be anything that they put out that I don't like. It's just very strange, and I think that's a personal thing for me. I'm not sure why, but yeah, and I think can they get away with? What if Burning Ambition, a song like that, was on a record? um like the next record they put out a song like that, can they get away with that? Because
That's the thing is like at this point, especially after replacing Nico, uh,
yeah,
that is a test for the
yeah,
fans.
yeah,
And Simon is fantastic, so it's not like they did anything wrong there. And I mean, they
right,
had to. That was just they were really kind of between a rock and a hard place on that one.
yeah,
And I'm very sorry Nico had to step down.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but I was really when that happened, I was like, will they accept someone else? Will they allow whoever it is?
yeah.
Because he was in the band for over 40 years,
Yep.
and I mean, his smashed face in a lot of ways is like almost equal to Eddie as
Yeah,
like
yeah,
just
yeah,
a visible, familiar symbol to fans of the band.
right,
In fact, the fact that his nose is broken and his face looks the way that it does was one of the things that was endearing to me about them because I looked at him and I'm like, well, they clearly didn't hire him like for I don't that's mean to say, but it's like
but
they didn't hire him for his looks.
yeah,
None of
yeah,
them are in that band because of how they look.
yep.
Not to say they're ugly. They're
Well,
beautiful on
no,
the inside and outside, but I mean, if you look at the back cover of Kill 'Em All by Metallica, it's
yeah.
just like, okay, these guys are in it for the music, clearly.
Right, right. It's a
But I mean
clear
that
message.
that
Yeah,
really that's been the thing for me though, is like for everyone I like and everyone I want to write about and everything, what they all have in common, 100% in it for the music, very distinct original takes on it.
yeah,
And the only reason the mainstream acknowledged them was because they broke in.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
And I said something about that to that effect about Metallica, that
right,
they were just a battering ram.
yep,
That's how they got into the mainstream, and
yeah,
those bands, sort of followed them in. But it was like the mainstream was not looking around like what thrash bands can we sign? They were just put in that position because it was selling and people liked it, and and
yeah,
MTV had to air the one video because they
right,
were getting so many calls. That's
yeah,
basically the same thing with all these bands that I've written about, where it's like, the music industry sucks. Everything they do is horrible. They're an agent of evil, in my opinion. But when they keep getting phone calls from fans of a certain band, they at least figure like, okay, fine, we'll do a video.
yeah, yeah,
But they have to be forced.
yeah. Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yep. And
Neil
that's
Neil said as much. In fact, he said something like the only way we would ever get on the radio is if like the radio stations were forced to
right.
play us. And that's
Yep.
exactly what happened. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And that's definitely Metallica and Maiden, for sure.
Well, I
Uh
mean, that's you and me. We did that. We
right.
were such strong fans and did not give a shit
Yep.
that polite society didn't want any part of it. We were just like, this, Number of the Beast is giving me more pleasure and enriching my life more than anyone in polite society ever did.
Right.
So I'm on Team Iron Maiden with
Yes.
that one, and you and I did that. That's very important to remember because we were fans. We bought the records, we went to the concerts,
Yep. They
and we
had to take
never
notice.
not just
Yeah.
and we wouldn't
The-
and we wouldn't shut up about it either.
right. Right.
My wife is like really done hearing about, how if you choose to decide not to decide, you still have made a choice. Like she's
Right.
like, I got it. Thank you. We're good. You said it.
I
But
love it.
that, it was people like us in great numbers who made it
Yeah,
possible for these bands because the fans put them over the top, and that
totally.
goes for Rush for the all of it, and that
Yeah,
I really respect that
yeah, yeah, totally.
because that's for
Uh,
real, that's authentic.
it sure is, man.
Yeah,
Another thing that I thought about was when Bruce left Iron Maiden. I didn't realize just how much of a rift there was between him and the band.
yeah,
I thought it was more of a, hey, I need to do this. Okay. But it was, Steve was ready to end the band. Dave Murray persuaded him to continue,
right, yeah,
which is really just, wow. I can't even imagine, ending the band at that point. So
yeah. After Fear of the Dark, I mean, it's like
yeah.
that is not a note to go out on. I'm so I know you love every note they ever recorded. I'm very sorry. Those two records that he did before he left, No Prayer for the Dying and Fear of the Dark, subpar is
Yeah.
all I will say.
No
Those are
prayer,
subpar records.
definitely. I don't mind Fear of the Dark, but
It's better
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
No Prayer, in my opinion, had no good songs.
That was rough. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
and
rough.
Fear of the Dark had two. So it's
Yeah.
like 200% increase in the good songs.
uh, d-
Um, oh,
but I think
and I really piss people off when I say that the best records they made in the 90s were the Blaze Bailey albums. People
there you go.
hate that when I say
Yeah,
that. Oh my God.
yeah, yeah.
But
Hey,
hey,
and that's the beauty of it though.
yeah,
That's the beauty of music is you're going to hear the same thing I am and you're going to have different feelings about it.
right. Yeah.
And that's, of the same exact thing at the same exact time.
Yeah,
And you're going to feel differently. I think that's magical, man. I think that's really
absolutely.
cool. Um, Dale, thank you so much, man.
Absolutely. This has been a pleasure.
So much fun, man. Yeah, I could do another 3 hours with you, but
Yeah.
yeah, people can get the book, Quarto Books. You got all kinds of stuff out there. Iron
Yeah.
Maiden at 50, of course. Rush coming out. It's April,
March.
for March
Yeah.
10th, right?
You're
Yeah.
thinking of the release date of the record.
Ah,
That's why you said
yes.
April. Yeah.
Yep. Wow,
Mhm.
look at that. Yeah,
You know your shit, man.
that'll be exactly 50 years, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, book March 10th. It's hitting shelves. You
Yeah.
can order it. There'll be links down below. Yeah,
Yeah. Iron
fantastic.
Maiden at 50 is out now,
Yep.
and the Big Four in November.
Crazy. Let,
Been a
let
busy, I've been a busy bee. What can I
you
say?
have no
Yeah,
doubt, man. Yeah, let's be in touch and we'll do this again in November and talk about
absolutely.
another sensational book, man.
Looking forward to it.
All right.
Okay.
Take
Thank
care,
you.
Daniel. Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.